So hey, thanks for the welcome there. Thanks for showing up for this. And it's not really how to go from 100 to 500, but really just kind of how to build a super valuable company. That's what we want to talk about. So let me ask a question. Who here wants to have an idea and convert it into $10 million? That'd be kind of fun. That'd be great. Who wants to build a studio and sell it for $50 million? That's pretty cool, right? That'd be great, right? We're going to talk about building a company that could be worth up to $500 million, right? That's what we're here to chat about today. So I've been very fortunate in my internet career to work at 3 very successful online companies, all of which have been home runs. And my goal today is to share with you some of the successes that we've had at those companies right there, and perhaps some of the things that maybe we didn't do very well, but didn't prevent us from being successful out there. And maybe you can take some of those things back home and figure out how that can integrate within your business out there. So Blue Nile was the first company I joined back in 1999, back in the internet heyday out there. So Blue Nile is the leading online retailer of diamonds and jewelry. And when I joined that company, we did $1 million in revenue our first year. We were stoked, right? And when I left that company, we'd grown it to a $400 million business. In 1995, I joined a company called Big Fish Games. Perhaps some of you have heard of that company before. And when I left there, it was a $500 million valued company. And when I joined Double Down Interactive just 2 years ago when we started, we were nothing. We were zero. We had no valuation. We didn't have a product out there. We had an idea, but it was nothing. We bootstrapped that company. We empowered our employees. And we built this company into a valuable business, not a studio, right? We'll talk about that. And in January of this year, we sold that for $500 million. Our goal with that company now is in the next 2 years, how do we make that a $1 billion subsidiary of IGT, who's our parent corporation? So hopefully I can share with you some of the things I've learned at these 3 companies right here that have worked for us. So a common trend amongst all these different companies is really 3 different categories, and it really encompasses all of your customers, your product, and your employees. And these are all really important things. And I always refer to those as customer acquisition, customer retention, and customer monetization. Those are really the 3 things, okay? And now because I work for a company called the Double Down Casino, by federal and international law, I'm required to make those have some sort of casino spin to it. So today we're going to call it grab them, keep them, and make them win, right? Which is the monetization part of it right there. How do you provide value to your customers and allow them to give you money so that both of you have a win-win relationship right there? So the first one is we're going to talk about grab them. What does grab them mean? Well, grab them talks about marketing. How do you acquire your customers out there? Dr. Evil created the really cool, the best laser beam in the world, right? But he couldn't market it. He didn't have a great way to market the product, and so it went out of business. It didn't work very well, right? And so marketing is super important. And when you think about marketing, you need to think big, right? You can't think about how can I market this to people in Washington State? How can I market this to people who are a very small niche product? You need to think really big. And the Marketing 101 class that you took in college, I'm really glad you took that, right? That's very important for you. That's not thinking big, right? You need to hire someone, if you're an online business, if you have anything to do with e-commerce or online, you need to hire an online marketing expert, right? Not someone who's been in marketing for 20 years, who's great, they're from P&G, they're a product guy. That'll be valuable down the road too, right? You need to hire an online marketing expert. Because that, today, guys, is where all the money's being made, at least for, certainly with this audience right here. Some of the tools are very obvious that you need to use, right? And the cool thing is that there's incredible tools out there already, and there's not a lot you need to focus on. Your marketing program doesn't need to be so broad, it needs to be very deep, right? So Google obviously has incredible AdWords and search engine marketing tools that you're able to access, right? And they're generally one of the most efficient ones out there. There's other, certainly there's other search programs out there. There's many different other online tools that are out there, and most of those, frankly, unfortunately, are just noise, right? Now, for us, we found that Facebook is an incredible platform for us to advertise on, right? I mean, where else in the world can you say, I want to target 38-year-old Ukrainian women who love country music, right? Well, you can do that with Facebook. Now, other people like Yahoo and different platforms talk about, well, we've got the ability to segment our people, but in reality, it's all sampling. It's really not that targeted, right? The targeting that you have here is incredibly helpful if you truly know who your customers are. And your customers, when I say your customers, I mean your paying customers, okay? If you look at someone like Zynga, who has an incredible breadth of customers, 150 million people that play, right? Many of them are in countries that don't monetize, and they know that. They're very smart. They've got their DAU numbers up very high, but they really are focusing on the people that monetize, and so should you as well. So those are the two top ones. The third section where you're going to find your users is through your, what I'm going to call your super affiliates, right? So there's, I've got up here the three big kind of affiliate companies. There's many more companies that run affiliate programs out there that are also very successful. Whatever one you choose, grab one and use them well. You're going to find that you can get up to 5,000 affiliates, and you know what? Who cares? It doesn't matter. The 10 affiliates that you grab, not the 10%, there's literally 10 companies that are referring traffic to your application, your site, your product, whatever it might be. Those 10 people are the ones that matter, and you need to nurture them. That means someone in your shop, at least one person, if not more, needs to sit there and say, all right, the number one affiliate we have, how can we help make them better? How can we help them make their site better? How can we help them with their SEO so that it's better? How do we make sure that we're doing one-on-one attention to that particular affiliate to make them more successful? Because guys, they are making you successful, right? And so you need to help them make you successful, and that's a total win-win relationship right there. As I mentioned earlier, there's lots of other marketing mechanisms that are out there, some of which might be helpful or not, but if you focus only on these three different categories right there, you will be very successful, and you'll be spending your money very wisely, okay? Another thing within marketing is analytics. So there's lots of excellent, great analytics companies that have great products out there, and hopefully everyone understands, oh, analytics are important for us, right? And there's so many different analytics that come out, right? You've got all these different words that are super important that it's kind of information overload out there. We're going to talk about, as these things come extremely slowly down, we're going to talk about really two things that we focus on, right? We measure all these different things that you'll see behind me right here, but there's two, and you can call that the piece or the shaka or the rock on, but it's just two, right? And at the end of the day, it's lifetime value, and that's a hard one to figure out, right? And then CPA, for us, cost per acquisition. We call it cost per installation of a user, right? And so the reason that those two are super important, and it might be obvious, but it's very hard to measure those, and not many companies do that well, is that as an entrepreneur, you need to know, what am I spending to acquire an average user, right? And let's say you're spending $5 to acquire that user. Then you need to, at some point, recover that $5 and the revenue you're going to get from that user. And what period of time does that mean? And what does recover that money mean? Is it revenue? Is it gross margin? Is it operating income? Well, we focus really on revenue primarily. And at the end of the day, most companies should focus on either revenue or gross margin. It kind of depends on what your product is. If you're an online retailer and you have a lot of costs associated with your product, you can't focus on revenue. You need to focus on the gross margin. If you're digital, like most people in this room are, then you can generally focus on the revenue number, and you won't be too far off, even with the Facebook fee out there too. So lifetime value again. If you're a startup company, you can't wait to recover your $10,000 you spent in marketing. You can't wait to recover that over a year because cash flow is really tight for you, right? So as an early company, you need to figure out what period of time should I be recovering that money over? Is it 1 month? Maybe it's 2 months. Certainly for us, out of the gate, it was 1 month. We recovered our money that we spend in marketing within a 1 month period. Today, cash isn't a factor. We've got a giant parent company who has unlimited cash for us. And so we focus more on the 9 to 12 months. And I personally believe that of any of the companies I've been at, anytime we start saying, well, we're going to recover we're going to have the lifetime value be a 2-year lifetime value, it gets a little bit esoteric out there, and things change so fast in the world of e-commerce that in 2 years, I mean, shoot, we were 0 2 years ago, 500 million 2 years later. The industry could be totally different in 2 years. So I generally think it's really important to focus on a 1-year kind of recovery period. But that's super important, okay? Okay, acquiring customers is super important. What about retaining them? Is that important? It is. Someone says, yeah, of course it is. Your ability to retain users is so much cheaper than it is to acquire your users, right? And Facebook's a great example. When we target users on our platform, or on Facebook, who have actually already installed our application, we can talk to those people at 1/10 the cost that we do for people who haven't installed our application. So for us, being able to advertise to that group is actually very, very inexpensive. And there's a lot of free tools that actually aren't so free. Email's kind of free, but not really. Posting on people's walls is really free, but the retention stuff is really important. Those are just the marketing part of retention, right? Now let me talk about how we retain people at those 3 companies I talked about earlier. So at Blue Nile, how do we retain customers? We retain customers because, one, we had an incredible value. You found diamonds and jewelry on our website that was generally 50% cheaper than the brick and mortar world, which is why the brick and mortar people hate Blue Nile. The second thing we had is we were innovative, right? We had an innovative way of finding our diamonds. Think of a database of 10,000 different loose diamonds. How the hell do you sort that? We came up with the first little sliders for 4 different key criteria: price and size and color and clarity. And having these little slider bars on our site allowed users to narrow that 10,000 diamonds down into about 20 diamonds that you could focus on. And then we also opened up the black box of what should diamonds be priced. Well, this level, all things being the same for these 10 diamonds, but one criteria is different color, Oh, it's a $500 difference. So that was a way that we had innovated within our, not our product, because our product was really diamonds and jewelry, but in our website and our application that allowed users to find things better. We also had things like we filtered down the giant volume of jewelry out there to a selected few that were really classical out there and ones that we thought that people liked. So we had a reason for people to keep coming back to our site that was different than others. Oh, and also we had one other thing, this crazy thing called telephone customer support. No one has it anymore. It's ridiculous, right? Well, when you're paying $5,000 for a diamond, you deserve to be able to talk to a human being, and so we gave people that opportunity as well. At Big Fish Games, very successful company, super proud to have been there. We did a lot of things that allowed users to be retained. One is we came out with a super compelling subscription program. There was other subscription programs out there in the casual gaming world, but ours was different, it was innovative, and it provided a couple things. It provided incredible value to users, which, by the way, developers were skeptical about that, but at the end of the day, developers got paid more because users were spending more money on the site. We also had things that, like, you got to view the games a day before they came out to the rest of the world. So we had compelling reasons for people to subscribe. And as a subscriber, it's hard to get you to stop using that, right? If you've got 20 credits built up there, you don't want to go spend your money to another site because that's wasting it. How do I use these credits out there too? Okay. We also had things like exclusive content. If you wanted to find a hidden object game out there, you had to come to Big Fish Games. So those are kind of three different things that we used there that were very compelling and very different. And many of those very innovative that allowed us to retain our users perhaps better than anybody else would do out there. So now at Double Down Casino, some of the things we do. We've got what we believe to be the world's best online casino content. So the games that we create, whether or not they're slot games or our Blackjack or our 3 poker games that we have out there, they're very different and we believe very innovative relative to the market that's out there. So that's one. Number two is the very first game we launched was a multiplayer Blackjack. And the reason we launched that was there was other Blackjack games out there, both downloadable and in the virtual currency world, but none of them were multiplayer. And if there was, none of them were compelling and no one was playing them. So we attacked the hardest part of the market first, the multiplayer market, and allowed us to be innovative. So people would keep coming back to find a great product out there. We also believe we've got good value, good promotions, and some other things that, since I'm still there, a little secret, maybe I'm not going to share those all with you right now. But how do we have ways that make it so that you really want to come back to continue to service that particular site or application out there? So that's what I call the kind of keep them. And then make them win, right? How do you make sure that you're constantly thinking about monetization of your product, right? And so we'll talk about a couple examples where companies have done a really good job of that and ones that haven't. So virtual currency has been out there for way before social gaming was out there, right? Especially with the Chinese game companies. That's virtually their only method of monetization has been the virtual currency method. So Zynga came out with a game called Zynga Poker. It's been pretty successful, extremely successful, right? And what they did is they just took this kind of obvious thing of, well, you got this virtual currency out there. We offer chips. People can play chips for free. Dude, duh, what if we sold chips and they can monetize it that way? Well, that seems so obvious now, right? But before Zynga Poker came out, there really wasn't a good online game where people could purchase chips that was very successful. So Zynga was super successful in that, and what they really did is they opened up a market that didn't exist before. And today, the online casino business, not just on social, but also on non-social applications, is $1 billion industry, right? 5 years ago, it was zero. Today, it's $1 billion industry, right? Innovation, thinking about monetization. You think of another good search company out there, Google. They had an incredible search product. It was very different from all the other search products that were out there, right? What they did is they had no idea how to monetize their product. They had this great search thing. Everyone was using it, but how do we monetize it? We've got a core value. They had a core value inside the company. We want to make search really simple, right? We want to make it very user-friendly. We don't want to clutter it with a bunch of stuff, but shoot, now we have to do these ads, and all these ads are, these multimedia ads, they're hard to, it's against our core values. So they spent years with their VCs, their advisors, trying to figure that out. What they came out with is, now it's obvious, but the way that they monetize it is through paid ads, but they kept to their core value of making it very simple. And by doing that, they created not the greatest search engine in the world, that was already done. They created one of the most valuable companies in the world because they knew how to monetize that. At another game company I was at, we came out with was our first foray into the social gaming category, right? And we launched a product that we're almost ready to launch a product. And we thought about how do we make this a really cool game design product? It's fun, it's exciting, it's got really cute art. It's kind of a fun mechanic out there. But literally, like a few weeks before we launched it, we thought, how are we going to make money on this product out there? So we didn't really think very much about it. So what we did is we embedded a store kind of deep in the game. And when you finally found the store, which by the way was really hard, you went to the store and was like, what can I buy from this game right here? And it wasn't very compelling, right? So what happens there is You have this product, people like to play it, but you can't monetize it. So you spend money on advertising, CPA, cost to acquire customers. Your lifetime revenue is nothing. Matter of fact, it was much below the CPA. So what happens to a company like that? It dies on the vine, and we had to abandon that game out there. So monetization is a very critical thing. You don't think about the end of your development cycle. You need to think about it early on, right? How are you going to monetize the game? So that's why I call it the bomb over there. There it goes. Okay. So far we've talked about your customers. Really, how do you obtain them? How do you keep them? And perhaps how do you monetize them? Right. Well, let's talk now about your company, your people. Right. So for all the aspiring entrepreneurs in this room, as you may have come across this issue, the hardest hire you're ever going to make is the first person. Is it going to be an employee? Is it going to be a business partner? Is it going to be a co-founder? Oh my God, it's hard to come up with that person, right? You can work for free for a period of time, and you might be fine with that, but convincing someone else to do that, who has the same core values as you, who has the same drive as you, who loves the same industry perhaps that you do, that's really, really hard, right? And the way that you're going to find that person is you need to truly look inside, who are you? Okay, and that's why I say play it to your strong suit, right? Who are you? What are you really great at? Are you a great developer? What does that mean? Are you a great front-end developer? Are you a great back-end developer? Are you a good game developer? Are you a great marketing person? Play to your strong suit about who you really are, and then find that person or people who can help complement what you have, right? So double down. We had 3 founders. We had someone who was an incredible marketer and business development person, someone who was a fantastic artist with his background, and someone who was a really good prototype developer. And the 3 of them were able to get a product out the door very, very quickly, focusing all 3 things which were super important. And that was one of the things that differentiated us between the rest of our competition, who might have built a cool product but didn't know how to market it, and frankly didn't make it as aesthetically pleasing to users. And so that's one of the things, as obviously everybody here knows, is super important within games right there. The other thing is once you've come up with your core group of people, and you've got maybe a product down the road, and you're thinking, okay, I've got enough people here. I've got, I don't know, maybe I got 8 people, I got 10 people, I got 6 people, 15, doesn't matter what that number is. If you're thinking, hey, I've got enough people to really take me to where I want to go, right? You're not thinking big. Okay, one of the topics we're going to talk about today, or it's going to be a theme today, is thinking big, right? And thinking big means you're not hiring fast enough, okay? So double down, we just hired our 100th employee last week, right? It was a super big celebration for us, super proud of it. We should have 200 people right now. It's not because we need more people to do things that we don't know how to do. It's just gonna take us longer to build them if we don't have the same number of people there, right? Our mobile product today is a really cool mobile product, but it doesn't have the full casino out on it, right? So we need to hire a ton more mobile developers to do that. What a great opportunity for them. They're getting to be an entrepreneur in the mobile division out there. Same thing across all the divisions. Personally for us, we need to be growing our company much faster than we are today, right? And you'll see all the successful companies that we'll talk about, or that we've talked about today, have done that. They've always hired above what they need today. They're thinking in the future. And if you want to grow a big, valuable company, you need to think that way. Again, if you want to build a really cool studio that you can sell someday for $30, $50 million, maybe you don't need to keep hiring, right? Because you're going to build a studio which has a few good games, which is different than building a big business. So one of the things that I've always preached is job ownership and accountability, right? And some people, some managers, some leaders are nervous about this. I don't want to measure my employees. They don't want to be that way. They're developers. They just want to be out on their own, do what they want to do, and not get measured, right? That's not true at all. Everybody wants to get measured, right? Maybe they don't want it to be public for everybody, but they want to get measured, right? Now think about this. How do you motivate yourself? Michael Phelps, every time he gets in the pool, he measures himself, right? And in his case, everybody's measuring him. How well is he doing? Is it the number of golds? Is it the time in a sprint race? Whatever it might be, he's measured. And if he doesn't beat his last record, he internally thinks it's a failure, right? And so he needs to push himself harder, right? You think of other people out there, right? Ichiro, a former Mariner. Sad to say that. He gets measured every time he gets up to bat, right? Tiger Woods, every time he's on the golf course, he gets measured, right? How well did he golf today? He wants to push himself. And hey, sometimes he's unfairly judged on things that he shouldn't be measured on, right? Okay, make fun a core value. This is something that across all 3 companies we've tried to do in some way or another, right? And fun can mean a lot of things. Fun can mean, hey, we got Waffle Wednesdays, we've got Massage Thursdays, we've got free drinks on Fridays. For us personally, one of the fun things we did is we promised our company, said, look, hit this giant milestone, have 1 million daily active users, and we're going to go on an incredible trip, right? So in February, in September last year, we hit 1 million daily active users, which is really hard to do. And we took everyone to the exclusive 4 Seasons Resort in Punta Mita, right? I mean, that's ballsy, right? That was fun. By the way, wait to see what we do when we hit 2.5 million DAU. Those are fun things. But you know what's really fun? What's really fun is being able to work on a product that you have ownership on, that you have a say in what the outcome's gonna be, and that you have 100% certainty that that product is gonna launch. That's fun, right? Building a game that you know 1 million people are gonna play within the first day, that is really fun, right? So how do you make all those things super fun, right? And don't be, I always call it don't be a dick, but don't be an ass, right? That, if you have a company that has asses in leadership positions or in people that are managing people, you need to get rid of them. They're a poison, right? Don't be afraid to hire people super quick and to get rid of people super quick. Your people are gonna respect you for it, okay? Keeping your seats. So I've got time constraints here, so I'll quick. But keeping your seats. So is really about, now we're talking about product. We talked about your customers, we've talked about your employees, and your product. Now why am I waiting to the third part of the section to talk about product? Because it's not the most important thing that you're building, right? How you build your product is super important, right? But what that product is, it can solve, it doesn't matter, right? Your product needs to be unique. It needs to be novel, right? So for us, we came out with this thing we call it photo booth slots. We're a Facebook social game company. What's one of the favorite things people like to do on Facebook? They like to post their pictures out there, right? We thought, well, shit, let's put, oh, shoot, technically Ben Araya, sorry. How do we put photos within one of our slot machines that people love? You can hit a button, it randomly puts all the photos of your friends on there. You can customize them out there, however you want to do it. And there's a reason that this game we launched 10 months ago is still our #2 best played game on our site. It's because it's novel and unique and it's something that has never been done before, right? Angry Birds is a funny one. So when we were out pitching to investors, one of the questions that all investors would ask me, they said, hey, Glenn, what is the market for social casino-style games on Facebook? And I laughed at him. I said, really? I said, well, I'll answer your question in a minute, but you're asking the wrong question, because who cares what the casino-style market is on Facebook, right? What is the bird-slinging market on the internet or on mobile phones 4 years ago? It was nothing, right? It doesn't matter, right? What Angry Birds is, they were innovative. They came up with a product that was in the entertainment suite, right? Everyone in this room, we're competing against Netflix. We're competing against book companies, right? And so it's interesting to look at what all the stats are for businesses out there. Facebook gaming was non-existent 5 years ago. Today, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, right? It's a giant business out there. Mobile gaming, again, innovation. There was lots of mobile gaming before Apple came out with the iPhone. No one made money on it, right? Maybe 2 companies here have ever made money on mobile gaming pre-Apple iPhone, right? No one made money on it. It was a losing adventure. It was a giant disaster to do, right? Apple innovated with 2 simple things, right? They said, one, how can we solve discovery? People can't find games. Let's come up with our top 10 list. Let's come up with our editor's picks. Let's make it presented in a way that is really easy for people to find it, right? That's #1 that they did. #2 is they said, buying on a phone is really hard. So how do we make it easy? And they said, let's make people give us their credit card once, either on the PC or the phone, whatever, one time ever. Type in your 6-digit, 8-digit password or whatever it is, click buy, bam, you've got something on your phone, right? That's innovative, right? So when you're thinking about your product, it needs to be just some sort of innovative way that's different than things that are out there right now, okay? Lots of other examples of that. My favorite game as a kid was Atari. I love Missile Command. And then all the actual device manufacturers now continue to innovate, and that's what makes them kind of stay in the market. It's a tough market, I think, and I'm super stoked to be in the online internet market. Innovators. So a lot of the companies that we all know here, Popcat with Bejeweled and Bejeweled Blitz, and Innovator. Think of all the copycat, Bubble Pop or Match 3 games that are out there, right? Those copycats have a good business, right? They can be very successful. You can have a good studio or a good idea and make your $10 million, maybe your $50 million. You're not going to be the $500 million company. That's where the innovators are, right? Big Fish, we were the first ones to bring the hidden object games onto the casual game market, right? They own that market right there, right? Mystery Case Files was a great game that launched in November of 2005, right? Double Down, the first full casino that really exists on Facebook. Not a slot, not a blackjack, not a roulette, the full casino right there. That's how we're innovators in that respect right there. Zynga, obviously, being the first ones to market there, the whole Vil games, they've been very successful with all those things. So the ante up, what does the ante up mean? It just means, look, it's time for you guys. You've built this business. You've got some employees, a product. You think you got a company out there. What are investors looking for? They're looking for 4 things. They want you to have a strong management team, right? You need to sell your you need to look internally. Do you have a strong management team? Where are you weak? Replace that person or put someone in there that is a strong person. Super duper important. #2, you need to have something unique and innovative about your product that is different, and your strategy needs to be a sustainable strategy. #3, you need to have a very clear path to profitability. Now, there's a couple of companies that can do that successfully that can be a valuable company without having a path to profitability. Instagram, great example, right? Their market for people who wanted to buy them, very small. Very fortunate, but very small, right? companies need to, VCs, companies that are acquiring you, private equity firms, you need to have a path to profitability out there. And it'd be also really nice if you had some sort of barrier to entry, whether that be that you've got protected product, you've got a giant lead, you're the market leader in this space, some other way that 100 people can't do exactly what you're doing successfully. Creativity is another barrier to entry there as well. So the last thing I'm going to talk about here is one of the things I touched on earlier. You've got a studio or a business. What's the difference? $50 million studio or a $500 million business, okay? So it's really about how you're thinking about what you're developing, okay? If you have these 4 things right there, if you've got front-end, back-end developers, if you've got great artists and perhaps a game designer out there, you can have a great studio. You can come out with great products, and good for you. That's really hard to do, and cheers to you, okay? Now, if you want to build a business, there's many more things that you need to think about there. There's all these different areas that are hard to work with, and this is where you need to have a strong business person either help you, or you need to join forces with another company, or do something. But look at all these different divisions that we have today, and we only have 100 people, right? And so that's amazing. And yet, party planning, I mean, it's nuts, but hey, again, it's all about your employees, right? So at the end of the day, I just want to wrap up by saying that there's really the 3 things that I think that are super critical that we've found successful in all 3 of our internet businesses. It's all about, acquisition, retention, and monetization, right? Those are the 3 things that we've been super successful with, okay? Make it to your highest potential. So think big and innovate, right? And reach for the sky, all right? Oh, it's all coming to me, I like it. All right, good things will happen, guys, all right? So thanks for your time. I know we ran out of question time, but I'll be hanging out next to our booth over there, and then we'll be rolling over at the, we're gonna go to the Fox Sports Grill is where we're gonna hang out, and I think there's a mobile developer get-together we're doing over there. So rock on, guys, thanks for your time.
All right, Glenn, thank you very much. I will admit this is the first time being an MC, people have thrown money at me on the stage.